on the show this afternoon. Yes, we'll be looking at head on before it becomes something of a before something we cannot really control eventually.
Of course, the case study for today's discussion is, a particular incident that was that went viral. It happened somewhere here in Lagos. A 12-year-old boy was some sort of concern from us. Welcome back. It's still Galaxy today. We're looking at children and career, either directly or indirectly. What is the ripple effect of this on the society? That's what we're looking at on the show today. Joining us, we have the founder of the Catalyst Men Network International here in Lagos State, Mr. Dayo Adeyemi. Good afternoon, Mr. Adeyemi. Thank you for... in this part of the world, there is this unanimous agreement, like an unspoken agreement that the care for a child, or the nurturing of a child is a woman's responsibility. So I'm happy to hear it from a man, really, about the form. So let's start from the very beginning, a child and the environment. What is the proper perspective to give to that, really?
The parent has a right and a responsibility to create the right home environment for the child. One, the child did not pick the parents. That's number one. Two, every parent today must realize something, especially relating to age 8 to 9. Because you have laid the foundation from age 1 through primary school. It starts to pick vices outside the home. So in reshaping the mind of a child, either towards virtue or towards vices.
Okay, I understand the place of the parents, in parenting a child and all of that. But once the child steps outside of the confines of the home or within reach of the parents, what happens, on a larger scale child, it seems to me that it is a deliberate action. Whatever you do in terms of bringing up your children is a deliberate action. But how do you handle when the child leaves your environment, your immediate environment, and goes out? Because if you look at the world today, there's more of crime, there's more when they're not with you.
It's so simple. The first thing is parents' background. You understand me? And then be sure that you do your due diligence. What's it called? The hostel masters will have gone.
So the children are left on their own.
The children are left. Hero. Hey, you can't do it. Hey, I can do it. If somebody dares somebody, the other boys who doesn't dare like a fool.
Sometimes you really can't tell, because in the case of the school, we're going to leave the name of the school out of this discussion, even though it's in the public purview. But then,
that's what we call
this case in question, where the 11-year-old boy tried poisoning.
The competitive, mindset of a boy. Don't also forget that the competitive strategy of individual is also different. If this boy had moved that accomplishment, and I'm not surprised that boy went that far, because he's trying to prove it's part of the stereotype. How can a girl beat me in the class?
Exactly.
Vindictive. How our children will become.
Also, it calls to mind the fact being first in his class obviously meant a lot to him, and you can trace that to maybe how the parents, react to his grades and all of that. We'll be having an educationist phone into the show to air her own perspective. Stay with us. All right, well, for the crimes of their children.
To a large extent, another woman takes it on attitude. You see adult exams, usually they are told they want to play first class and 2-1. What happens to the rest? So our children are watching from the sideline. They are seeing the game. And because that child is still young, the child will probably not put whatever action he wants to take over a matter to serious steps. He just goes out and does it because he's not really, his mind is not yet trained in taking responsibility. And you will see, it's just because that child was caught. There may be other children advise that those who are in positions of authority, are leaders, watch their actions more closely, because there's a generation that is watching them and will take over, and it's probably going to take over from what they left behind. A child who said he wanted to be a policeman once, and when he was asked why, he said because they accused him of witchcraft in his family, and they had been tormenting him. He said so that when he grows up, he will also deal with them the way they dealt with him. So you can see how much of an influence the nurturing environment can be on these youngsters.
Okay. All right. Now, from everything you have explained now, I'm beginning to see the child as a victim. Am I correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So children are basically victims of their environment.
Yes, that's why the environment calls them minors. We can't make them accountable, so we must look for the surrounding influences.
Children grow, and there's a tendency that they might outgrow whatever stage, or mannerism they have at the moment. Child offenders.
Okay, the punishment they put for a child like this is to give thought to how that child can be reformed, not to be punished in a way to denigrate or to perpetuate that thought pattern in the child. Because I remember this happened some months back. I'm even sorry that, unlike me, I saw that post in Facebook. I saw it. I saw what people were saying. I said I was going to comment on that thread, but I never did. Because when it concerns children, everyone should pay attention.
Okay.
The school said the boy was expelled, and someone was accusing the school of not expelling the child. I do not believe that expulsion is a problem, because if a child is damaged and we do not help to kind of reform that child, even if we will take it to another environment.
Yeah.
The issue is counseling. The school should look at its reward system. When children take such position, how are they treated? And those who do not come first, how are they treated? Is there a way of making everyone to have a sense of belonging? Because there's a way you think, and there's a competition amongst the children. So there must be a way to help this child deal with that, understand that life is a win-win thing. You might come to, when you see in our society where the rich get away with almost anything, the poor suffer for little or nothing that they may have done wrong. It's bound to make children get to succeed at all costs, or put down another person. A child must be raised to see other children as peers, to love them. So when you see your classmates as competition, a situation where sometimes people go to work like hunters looking for prey, they see their fellow human beings as prey. Children are picking up these things from the adult world. So we need to correct the environment of them. So the school should share in the blame, the parents, or whatever community the boy has been associating with. Because all he carried out as a child without even proper processing, if he were an adult, he probably would have processed better, maybe worse even. But what he practiced there and then is what he picked from his environment. We do not know if it's from the school, from the church, from the mosque, from the marketplace, but it is something he picked from the adult world.
Okay.
And we now to them, they will give us, it's a garbage in, garbage out situation.
All right. All right, thank you so very much, Mrs. Abraham. Thank you for joining us on the telephone.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Now we're taking the conversation to Abuja. We have been joined by Iso Smart. He's the Programs Coordinator, Center for Prisons, Reforms and Inmates. Good afternoon to you. Go with an 11-year-old who tried to poison the classmate just because she went ahead of him in class. In your opinion, would you really advocate or consider the issue of maybe?
Yes, the children in school, it's very important to put programs that will definitely help their minds to grow. A curriculum, they narrow you down to English and mathematics. If you're not doing well in English and maths, you are considered to be doomed. Hello? Most especially if you teach them skills, if in the society, and once their mind is engaged, because we must remember, every child is configured
And of minors, and they tend to go over it over and over again because I don't know what could be the cause. But how would you now punish, or how would you now reform people who actually like recalcitrant, who have committed these crimes over and over again and are not?
With them, you must discuss with them. You find out what their challenges are, because no child just get involved into negative things or crime without a root. There's always a neighborhood breakdown. Sometimes you could have school, sometimes you could have peers, peer group challenges. You could have so many things, even the society that we are. So you try to narrow it down to what that, and you will now be able to prescribe the actual dose for rehabilitation for that very kid. So it varies. It's not, there's no one life bullet to it.
All right, Matt.
In the Lagos studios. Now, Mrs. Abraham, who spoke earlier on the telephone, mentioned a critical fact, saying that the child shouldn't have been first to assuage the minds of the parents of the other child, that the child was safe, and secondly, to launder the image of the school and do some damage control and all of that. But
I'm never an advocate of punishment for children.
Oh, really?
I am never.
Not any form of punishment?
So how do you correct that?
Oh, okay.
I believe in discipline.
Discipline, okay.
And discipline that we don't have all of the facts.
Yeah.
So whether it is right to expel, whether it is because to assuage the feelings of the parent, we may not. It's a triumvirate issue. The parents involved, could you please go a bit further? If you have this, there's a functional situation. Could have led your child to do this. Because you expel that child from school, don't ever forget, he's going to go to another environment.
Amen.
So the parents must be willing to work, the school must be ready to help, the child must also be set to work. Because to complete the other thing, holistic solution demands that we look at the entire issue as a gamut and say, oh, school, now that you have expelled, what is your counseling procedure to be able to reform the child?
So who else would need counseling aside from the child? Because right now, the child that is in question. There are people around there who could have, as in the children in the same class and in the class.
What is the influence of his actions on? Let me tell you by what I do. Now, I'm into Out of Home Boys. Admit, look, our home has issues and it's having effect on the children. Even sometimes when you call them for counseling, no, don't worry. I've had to deal with children, 11, 12, 13, kind of environment we need to recreate for this child to be wholesome. The first thing is love. If it's a home whereby it's brutish, it's noisy, when he has opportunity to exhibit like this boy did in the school, you understand me? So, parents has very crucial role to play. Two, let's get back to be a way, that you screen some of this. And there's a special need. When you observe there's a behavioral disorder, there are teachers that you are assigned to.
Should be assigned to children. But most of the teachers we have in schools, do you really think they're qualified enough to handle the psychological needs of children?
If they are not, that is why specialist intervention. Outside internal counselor who has to keep his job or her job. Because if you invite him to your school, I'm just, you understand me, distance observer. I'm going to do it dispassionately like a consultant. Run a gamut of solutions into the place. Mrs. Abraham said something, he said the government must create the environment. The truth is that no government creates the right environment for a child upbringing before. We have a whole lot of those that we are working with. The issue is that transformation of the society rests with people like Pat, with me, with you, stepping out to do all this nonsense book that we are putting for our children about masturbation, about safe sex. We need to get it right culturally here. Don't just import what is not. So you and I, we should do. I can also tell you today that we have what we call certified mentorship program, whereby if a boy is deviant, if a girl is deviant, we train people who are willing, who are ready to say, it's just love. It's just the right environment.
All right, okay. Let
Right
us get back
okay.
to Abuja for a bit before we just wrap up with them. Now, thank you for standing by. It's so smart. Okay, I just want to get your opinion and your perspective concerning punishing children as against discipline them. What do you really think when they do the wrong thing?
What is even the guardian, handling a child?
Okay, punishing a child. When it comes to punishing a child, you must punish a child in love when a child commits an offense. And in our society today, there are other ways you can actually help a child to come out of certain habits or certain conditions. But our society today, we tend to see everything and girls who actually got married. So they don't even have the parental skills to bring up these children. If a child does a thing, in order to discourage, you can discourage the child by using punishment. You can use a withdrawal method to raise that child. Maybe the child likes certain programs on TV. You can withdraw those programs. And when you take those programs off the kid, you will notice that you discover that the results will be reversal. Always the key when it comes to raising a kid. Because
For prison reforms, we all know that there are some ends up in a correctional center or a welfare home like we have in Nigeria, for whatever crime he or she might have committed. Let's look at the environment of our correctional centers in Nigeria. Do we have child needs? Let us be a bit honest about that. Do we have, what it takes to properly correct a child by law in Nigeria?
presently, I will tell you no. My reason is very simple. As we speak today, you have lots of children, same sex, you keep people of the same age, you keep, you enclose people of same value or same crime level. In international standard, it is called standard minimum rules. But as I speak with you, if you visit our prisons, you will discover that even these children are mixed up with adults. At the end of the day, that place becomes a breeding ground for them to become even more that they are not up to date. They are not valid. No education is taken to these children. There is even another group which people have even forgotten about. These are innocent children in prison with their mothers. They are there every day. Yes, everything they see there is what they know. And we in the larger society, that world, because the prison is a world, they will come and mix up with our children. So if we don't go to them, they will come to us. And when they come to us, they are not coming to be nice to us. They are coming to exploit us. So my answer for that is actually there is no reform centers for these children, except for the few NGOs like us that is doing what we are doing.
Lagos. Now, I mean, hearing that just broke my heart. The fact that you mix children with adults, even in the prison. And he did raise a very valid point. The fact that there are some children who are born in the prisons, and the life in the prison is all they forms. Start looking at it from the angle of the family, the angle of the child, and the society itself.
Thank you so much. How do we begin this reform? The first thing is to separate punishment from discipline. Punishment is emotional. Affliction of pain to correct behavior.
Let's even explain that point properly. Yeah.
Punishment is emotional.
How is punishment emotional?
Sorry?
How is it emotional?
Oh, it's somebody offense. It's something that you sit down.
Take your time to do.
To take that, I have 4 children and they offend me. I'll sit them down. You have done this, you have done this, you have done this. Consequent management. It's not something you afflict. It's not something you do emotionally. We need to understand. Now, coming back to the government, honestly, like I told you.
Sorry, I have to butt in. You know why? Because I'm a pick me. So, first of all, you can't totally take away the part of physical beating. Or can we? We can do that.
Because
okay,
you are reacting out of your anger.
Out of anger. But I
So
do
what
know of
you do then?
parents.
You have to calm down when you're
I know of parents that actually sit down with their children, they analyze what they've done, this is what you have done, and then they discuss how many strokes of the cane is appropriate.
Asking what is the emotional intelligence level of the parents? What is the conflict management strategy of the family? So, if you have a mother who is emotional intelligence is so low, it's all anger, it's all shouting, you know, the way African mothers, you know, or you have a father to deal with, the parents have to deal, like we have anger modus for fathers. If you are angry, we take you through the 7 series, how you can build capacity against anger. So it's starting from the parents recognizing the emotional quotient level in delay, and that is when you recognize your emotional intelligence level, you can intensify defend tactics from parents. Oh, you put me to shame. Oh, I trained you this way, you didn't repay, act the way you should have.
So it's not really about the children.
It's not really about the children.
But how about the biblical injunction
that
talks about sparing
do not provoke your children
to anger.
The meaning of this is that every child has internal anger already built into him. When you don't behave well towards them, they become angry and become rebellious outside. He said that you should love.
So most as a product of what they see.
Through the father's self-control, not to provoke.
So going back to this story now that happened in Lagos, could it be as a result of a no love lost relationship in that family?
We may not be able to stepping up. We are also stepping up, especially working without. He said something that we need to take care of. He said those words one day come to. May be anything. The moment he comes in to kidnap your son, who is rich and in the bank, is your headache. So if we neglect those minor child boys, Oshodi or Plank Market or Adelogo, that's the kind of thing that they do. That's the area I'm used to, and that's why we work. Now, the moment you clock 7, push it, you enter 17. The moment you enter 17, bam, it's to Abeokuta. They take you to juvenile prison, straight off. Then they start to treat you as an adult. So all the years of awaiting trial, whereby the justice system is so slow, so delayed, so denied. We also have a set of parents from what we do that deliberately take their children and take them to
correctional homes.
And say, sorry, what we need to do, like I said, is holistic thing. Can we work with the school? Can we work with the parents? Are parents willing to come forward and say, sorry, I have this issue. I have dealt with issues. You're surprised. They just pass it through the Okada man. The Okada man passes it, and the parents are sleeping. They are rich. They think all is well.
I'm an adult. I don't think I've seen anything harder than marijuana in my life. You understand? But you wonder how a 12-year-old would have access to
what they watch on TV or what they read in the social
media.
The
media also has a major problem. You know, we are dealing with something now that we are not opening up our mind to. Screen addiction.
Okay.
Screen addiction. Your children, my children, we need to start to watch out for screen addiction because 87% of control them. If they are ordering for food, is their screen. If you need to make friends, is their screen. So it makes your life so individualized and you get the solution, but you lose your person. You lose relationship.
Yes.
So you need to order cocaine, minors in crime. The root cause, first and foremost, is the home, the media, access to information that should be regulated. Also, the government focus on the real issue, transforming lives. You understand? Because a lot of NGOs are underground, when they get the grant, bang, bang, bang. That's what they're looking for.
They don't do what they should.
They don't do the work.
But you see, one vampire, one boy from the Mushin, you know, something happened that shocked me. They call it to Solo, and he keeps sending them on the run to go and rob. So for one pumpy guy who gets to the street and recruits 20, what happens to our society? If you don't train them now, if you don't handle them now, the boys out of home will one day come back for the boys at home.
Our children commit. That's the only way to go. All right, we have to go. Our time is fast spent, but you know, to round off quickly, because I've realized that you can't give what you don't have. A lot of these issues, like you rightly pointed out, even the parents, the way they were raised, you know, is also reflective on how they raise their own.
Of what we call recognition of what we call self-weaknesses. If you know that, look, there is something porous about my family, be willing to do it. We all come together.
And
you
discuss.
can say anything to us.
Okay.
And we can say anything to you. We have our guiding rules. But they open up. Sometimes it's even from that family forum that we know, and maybe this one happened, this one happened. And you also, as an African person, I'm not talking about the white, you will never stop parenting. The reason is this: if something goes wrong with your child today, with the child's marriage, they are coming back to you. It's your sorrow, it's your pain to ensure that you make the sacrifice to raise one child very well.
Okay.
The thugs, the senator, the man who is misbehaving, who is losing our money, as a parent or as a father, as a mother somewhere, something went wrong.
Well said. Thank you
Wow.
so much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Dayo Adeyemi. Thank you for coming on the program. To our background, a recent study shows that more than 60% of children are exposed to violence within every year, either directly or indirectly, and children are the products of the society. So if we have more children perpetrating crime, it shows the society is sick. We need to sit up and do the right thing. Thank you again to join us from Abuja. Also, many thanks to Mrs. Jennifer Abrahams, who joined us via the thank you.